You're never gonna know what the person in front of you is actually thinking. You can ask them directly and maybe get the truth, or maybe get the version of it they're comfortable saying. Or maybe get something they genuinely believe is honest and still isn't the whole picture. You can read every signal they give you, every expression, every pause, the way they look at you or very deliberately don't. And at the end of all that, you're still walking from the outside. The access to what's actually happening in there just doesn't exist. Days with My Stepsister, of all things, is a story that made me feel exactly how much that cost. This story has something which isn't particularly uncommon within light novels, a dual POV structure. But for this specific video, you need to understand what this helps you do with the story structurally to grasp anything that follows. The series' plot itself is basic. It involves two step-siblings, Yuta and Saki, who sort of navigate their new lives living together after their divorced parents remarry each other. The story follows their lives from then on, watching it unfold daily. Later down the line, they develop some feelings for each other. And the reason I'm saying some and not actually naming what that feeling is because neither of them is truly sure what to call it. The true purpose of the series itself is to explore that, or rather have us watch them explore it. The way this series makes use of its dual POV structure is quite impressive and really important for the story once you get into it. It helps us experience the same events from both Yuta and Saki's POV every single day, every single chapter. I know you'd probably think that most likely gets boring, but no, it doesn't. I'll explain why later on. This dual POV structure used on such a frequent basis grants us, the readers, the external observers of the story, immediate unfiltered access to both of these characters' minds, both of their inner worlds, their deepest thoughts and desires, and their interpretations of the things that happen in front of them. We get to have something no other person within the story has, an omniscient view of everyone's thoughts. All of the feelings they would rather hold back and not have anyone else know about externally, all of the thoughts they would want to keep private, all of the expressions they contemplated making but just withheld, all of the things that others within the story do not get to see, we see and know all of them. Most stories normally give you a single POV, the protagonist's perspective on the world, and that is how we get to experience the story, or some others have you immersed through a third-person narrator. Both of these styles dictate how you feel about certain characters or certain events or the story as a whole, which kind of limits your own perspective and interpretation, since you only experience the story through a single lens. The dual POV structure in Days with My Stepsister though lets you experience the story yourself. It lets you discover things by yourself, chapter by chapter, from inside both Yuta and Saki's heads. You being allowed to see these things from both of their perspectives gives you the opportunity to decide how you want to interpret these events. What this unfiltered access gives you is quite something, because when I was reading this story after finishing the anime, it made me feel as though I was going back to a particular place or a particular time period and revisiting everything I thought I knew, and finding a whole new interior that I didn't see the first time. And in some instances, seeing the same scene from Saki's POV after being immersed in Yuta's dismantles everything you thought you knew. It sort of adds a new layer without completely dismissing what you experienced through Yuta. Okay, I guess it's time for me to give you concrete examples and scenes where this structural choice in Days with My Stepsister is put on full display. You're really not gonna get the emotional proof of everything I've claimed so far if you don't understand the importance of these scenes. So there's a scene in Volume 5 where Yuta and Saki go on a date. We first get to experience the date through Yuta's POV, and the entire time he's just extremely self-conscious of his appearance and how he looks, especially what Saki thinks of it. He kind of perceives Saki's expression as holding a laugh about what he is wearing, extremely self-conscious throughout the whole day. In the next chapter, we relive this day through Saki's POV. Now, the expression she has here is the exact same Yuta saw, but Saki, with that expression, is trying to smile more warmly. She's trying to be amiable. She's trying to put Yuta at ease. She wants to, in a way, be more girly, be more attractive for him. Notice a very obvious difference in how both of them saw the exact same thing. Yuta saw her smile as very awkward, but she, on the other hand, was just trying to be easier to be around. Saki doesn't know he missed that smile. Yuta doesn't know Saki was trying to be more girly for him. Neither of them knows what the other is thinking. Another instance where this structure is put to good use is when Yuta and Saki are at their part-time jobs at the bookstore where they work. So Yuta arrives at work and he's been working there for some time. He then goes towards the counter where customers are being served, and Saki tells him she's gonna move away from that and take over stacking books in the storage room at the back of the bookstore. She walks past him, and from Yuta's POV, this is a completely normal workplace exchange. Nothing is unusual. In the next chapter, we see this whole exchange through Saki's POV. In their workplace, there is this other part-timer called Yomurai Senpai, who is a friend to both Yuta and Saki. Before that instance where Yuta came towards the counter, Yomurai Senpai had been pestering Saki about her growing lovey-dovey relationship with Yuta. She does this all the time and Saki was flustered, blushing as you would expect in this kind of scenario in any Japanese romance and media. She used stacking the books in the storage as an excuse to get away from that situation. While walking past Yuta, she took a quick glance at him, blushing, and just disappeared. I'll ask you once again to notice the difference between how both of them perceived what happened within that simple, at most 10-second long exchange. Yuta saw it as a very mundane, regular, unnoticeable thing that would happen on a regular basis, but it carried so much more weight for Saki because she has a special relationship with him, one she cannot even define, that carries a lot of emotional weight for her, which is what was being discussed before Yuta came into the room. But the thing is, you can't really blame Yuta for not noticing it, right? He had nothing to work with. Seen it from his POV, like I've explained, it looks very normal or noticeable. Keep that in mind. After getting home while heating up miso soup for their dinner, they engage in a conversation about Yuta trying to do something in hiding and Saki easily figuring it out. She says something along the lines of, "I'm always thinking about you, so of course I will notice stuff like this." During their conversation, Saki bends her head down to taste her miso soup before telling him that. To him, it's so ambiguous and he doesn't know how to respond to it because they are still really uncomfortable about what their feelings are towards each other, so he ends up not saying anything. In the next chapter, we then get to see this whole scenario play out through Saki's POV, and it's so different. Through her monologues, we find out that a lot was going on through her head before she said what she said to Yuta. Her heart was racing as well, and she had to force herself to be honest enough to say it to him. She has to push herself to the limit for those exact words to come out of her mouth. Her putting her head down to taste the miso soup was a pretext. She wanted to use that brief moment of tasting the soup to compose herself before speaking to Yuta. She was embarrassed and at the same time unsure of whether or not he felt the same way as she did, because of course that is a pretty romantic thing to say on the back of such a vague relationship, mind you. Yet again, the gap in how both of them perceive this is, to say the least, noticeable. What you just saw as an ambiguous, slightly awkward statement had Saki at the edge. She had to muster all the courage she could find to utter those words. Everything Saki experienced internally in that moment was limited to her and her alone. Yuta knew nothing of it. Once you start going deeper into the story, you notice a bit of a pattern. Every single event told from each of their perspective is almost always different. You get to see something within each of them through their individual POVs that neither of them has access to. In a normal sense, you would think Yuta is just being very dense, but he's not necessarily bad at reading other people. It's just that what he sees is an altered version of what actually happened. As you know by now, he doesn't get to see the full picture of anything. Both he and Saki still hold some things back even in their most honest moments. This story is actively putting on display what human exchange actually looks like on a daily basis. If this has been interesting for you in any way, drop a like and let me know in the comments. Is there a story where seeing both sides of the same moment hit you the hardest? I genuinely want to know if there's other stories out there that are similar to this with My Stepsister. Alright, time for me to actually let loose on what I've been setting the groundwork for. This is where Days with My Stepsister structure tells you something fundamental about human relationships, and it's the spine of this video. With this story or basically any other story, you as a reader are an external force. You are both everything and everyone within this narrative and you have full visibility on what is happening, be it from this character's POVs or from an omniscient one. You get to see how both of them view certain things. You get to have full access into their minds and their inner worlds. You see the same moment from two different angles simultaneously. And from that position, you can pinpoint every little thing about that relationship, what it is they miss in what they are perceiving, the hidden subtext in the things they say or the things they don't, what bending your head down to taste miso soup actually means. You get to see and know all of that, but neither Yuta nor Saki do. They, within that world, are working with the same limitation we real human beings have. They only have one POV. There is no second chapter. There's no free access to the other person's internal thoughts. You, as a reader, have something these characters don't and will never have. And it is that same thing that real life withholds from us. We only get one scene. We only experience it once and we only experience it from a single perspective. The same way Yuta does, and it feels complete until you see it from Saki's POV. The thing is, we don't get a Saki POV. We cannot look forward to the next chapter and be intrigued to see how this played out from the other person's eyes. This story is a case study in how difficult human relationships are. It allows you to see just how complex basic interactions can be, considering how they are shaped through different psychological fields. It lets us see how the same thing can come off differently depending on the person experiencing it. Days with My Stepsister gives us a bird's eye view while the people inside have to live the way we do. The difference between what we see and what these characters within the story see is the crux of this video. It's important to note that there is a very obvious objection I want to address before concluding. That kind of proves this isn't really a skill problem and it never was. A reasonable claim would be that if you are perceptive enough and you are really good at reading people and navigating social relationships and interactions in general, you can at least narrow the gap, reduce how much you lose when seeing things from a surface level perspective, while of course not having access to a person's internal thoughts. I'll tell you this, and I'm sure many others in my position would agree with me. I'm someone who has developed that kind of perceptiveness as a skill over time, through years of going deep into stories and navigating or tracking character psychology, within subtleties in behaviors and tone and expressions, coupled with some experience IRL as well. I've honed that skill to a considerable degree, and yet I still kind of confidently say it cleanly transfers to real life, where I can easily use it to notice certain social cues. I'm not trying to glaze myself or be modest, depending on how you see it. This is just me being honest about what the situation actually is. There is a real barrier in using skills you develop through interacting with fiction and applying that to human life. The reason that barrier exists is because fiction gives you something you don't have IRL, POVs. Great stories are written in ways that allow you to notice certain things. You find subtleties as you are supposed to because they are structurally embedded within those stories. There is no such convenience in the real world. Nobody arranges these things for you to notice them. The skill you actually develop is learning how to notice things that were supposed to be noticed, things that the author intended for you to eventually find. Real people are not authored. Real people are not written in a way that allows you to have an unfiltered access to their internal thoughts. You're always working with what people show you on the surface, which is almost always filtered. There is no guarantee that what you are seeing is the truth. There's no guarantee that what you are being told is the truth. No matter how perceptive you become through interacting with fictional stories, you can't confidently utilize that skill in real situations. Fiction gives you a way to know what people are thinking behind what they are saying. Life doesn't. And if you made it this far, honestly, subscribe. You're most likely the kind of person this channel is made for, and I'd love to see you around for the next one. Days with My Stepsister gives you something that people inside that story would never have. You sit inside both of them. Every thought behind every expression, every interior experience that gets filtered down before it can reach the other person. You have the full picture, and then you close the book. Outside of it, the second chapter doesn't come. The person in front of you has an inner world just as full as Sakis, just as full as Yutas, and you are working from the surface of it. You always were. That's not a problem you solve with enough perceptiveness or the right questions or more time. It is just what knowing another person actually is. And I think somewhere, you already know that. This has been Tambe Bryan. Thank you for watching.